in Hoboken only 18 years, and I love it, really.
Well, I was born and raised in a town, you know, you get to know everything about it, and it's the kind of place like I love it here, to tell you the truth. You know, it's a city that you know.
It's neighborhoods, it's people knowing each other, it's the excitement of living in a city. People I've talked to from Hoboken who have moved to the suburbs and have returned, many of them have said it was just so damn boring there. They sat on their front stoop and they didn't see anybody, they didn't have anybody to talk to, and that kind of style of life is what I think this city offers.
I was born and raised here. I've been living here since 21 years old in Hoboken, and I said this is a great town. And if I get married, I'd like to bring my kids up in this town too. It's beautiful, you know.
The images that people have of a city are extremely important. In Hoboken, the clock tower is one of the most important images that people have of the city.
It's the kind of town I was born and raised in. I like it. It's one of these towns, you know, that you get to know everybody. And it's a small town, you know, like I could go all the way up to 14th Street. I'm going to run into all kinds of people that I know.
Hoboken, the best town in the world. Hoboken was always well known, let's face it.
Stephen Foster lived in Hoboken, and Edgar Allan Poe, Christopher Morley, and Charles Dickens. John Jacob Astor built a summer home here.
And Hoboken had the first brewery in the country. The first baseball game was played here, too. The New Jersey team beat New York 23-1 in that game in just 4 innings.
Colonel John Stevens owned the land that became the city, and he decided on the name of Hoboken. Colonel Stevens was an inventor. He invented the first steam-powered ferry boat and operated a ferry service between Hoboken and New York. John Stevens developed it as a resort and outdoor recreation area, and it attracted thousands of New Yorkers, sometimes as many as 20,000, to enjoy the river walk and the Elysian fields. It was called the Paradise of Gotham.
Because of its excellent waterfront, Hoboken became a center for rail and water transportation by the turn of the century. Its piers became famous for passenger and freight shipping.
Over there, send the word, send the word.
From its piers, American troops left to fight World War I.
Are coming, the Yanks are coming, the drums coming everywhere. So prepare.
General Blackjack Pershing had said, "Heaven, hell, or Hoboken by Christmas."
We're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.
10 years before the war, a company called Keuffel Esser built a factory at the corner of 3rd and Adams Streets.
We made engineering supplies. We made, starting from the triangles and T-squares, we had a big woodworking department at the time. We made measuring tapes out of steel. We made started to make then surveying instruments, I think in the early 80s. We were one of the early ones to make surveying instruments. So then I think it was about in the late 80s when we started to manufacture slide rules. We were the first ones. So before long, we were the supplier to the great engineering society that was growing by leaps and bounds.
K&E was one of the foremost manufacturers of wartime equipment in World War II.
In 1968, K&E closed.
We had to move out in our general, meeting our general objectives of growth. We had to grow. We had become too big for the facilities which we had in Hoboken.
There was more of a feeling about K&E toward by the people who lived here toward K&E and what it meant to them than I have heard people express about other places. When it left Hoboken, I think more than other industries that have left, I think it was probably more of a blow than other places. And I think that the message at that time was that K&E's gone and Hoboken's gone too.
Hoboken more or less had no real industrial use. I think when we saw that our physical character was changing from a city that was once on the water and at a railhead where it was so necessary to be for economic survival of, let's say, an industry that needed these services, Hoboken was a great little industrial city. However, with the advent of the automobile and the truck, we don't need that railhead for freight. We don't need shipping for freight. You got piers like these piers we had here doing tremendous work. Plenty of people working, making money. Like everything else, companies are here for so long, and then all of a sudden, poof, they move out. It's not enough money. No matter what they make, they move.
Everything, the factories are all out of here, you might as well say.
Since World War II, Hoboken has lost 45 of its industrial firms and 38% of its jobs.
And we feel that the only way we can really go now is to be a city somewhat residential in nature and with the small industries that are still needed or that will still survive with that kind of labor force.
What happened at Hoboken was not unusual. Here, 3 blocks were cleared. The neighborhoods were broken up. What was left was just 3 empty lots. It took a long, long, long time for anything to go up there. The Grogram Marine Plaza project, which is now being rented, offered to us at a point in time a very dramatic contrast of how the strategy of urban renewal differed from the strategy that the Model Cities Agency and the city adopted of preservation and revitalization.
Essentially what we did was we focused on rehabilitation using the concept of stabilization and a wide-scale education program to bring an awareness to the people, the city of Hoboken, that in fact that the buildings that they were living in were more valuable than those that could be created.
Isn't it wonderful how they're fixing them all up and everything? Wonderful, yeah? This is really a nice town. It always was a nice town.
Our older cities are filled with what we call obsolete buildings. They no longer function for the uses that they were built, but some of them have great character and interest. That doesn't mean that they should be destroyed.
Why should we destroy a building which was so superbly constructed, something which was virtually irreplaceable given the construction cost to replicate? So we said, okay, let's try and take it to a project rehab entity, okay?
With that, we applied to HUD for a study, and it was the first of its kind in this country where HUD gave a grant to make a study of a building that was once an industrial building and use it for conversion to housing units.
The building was built in 1904, a very unusual building for its time. Completely reinforced concrete, both exterior elevation, floors, structure, all reinforced concrete. By dealing with the building as it is, rather than trying to make major alterations to it, we were able to hold the construction cost down within the limits that are allowable for this type of federally sponsored housing project. This building is full of special kinds of features. It has very high ceilings, particularly in the living room. Apartments which have individual terraces, very large ones. Apartments which have special angles and different levels. Some of the ground floor apartments, for example, have split-level living room. So the building is not a building that has a series of similar apartments. Almost every apartment is individual and different. The K&E building is an element of continuity. It not only will be a symbol of what was, it is now a symbol of what can be, a symbol of where people worked, and now a symbol of where people live.
One of the principal reasons for using rehab in the city of Hoboken was the fact that the time lag between the start of construction and the completion of a project was so much shorter than new construction. A good example of that is the fact that construction on the K&E building actually began in April of 1975, and in approximately 11 months we had families moving in.
It's amazing what they did to this building. To think that my husband used to work here, and I'm living here right now, and I think it's the most beautiful building they ever made. I'm living in Hoboken 58 years, all my life. I really like it because you would never believe what they did to this building, that everybody seems so happy about it.
It's not really K&E anymore, it's called Clock Towers. It has a high tower with the clock that can be seen from many, many points in this metropolitan area.
Yeah, clocks. I guess they're going to have it working, aren't they? Yeah, I guess they are. That's very good.
Oh, I met someone yesterday, and she used to live in Hoboken, and she asked me how I like living in the clock towers, and I said I liked it. So she turned around and she said, yeah, it's just like a little Hoboken there.
Are they going to put it back on today? Oh, yeah, that's why it's set at 4 o'clock. Do you see that boy with the tower hat? Look, he's got it on 4.
I think it's very nice. Some people say it's wonderful.
clock starts again, and that period when things sort of died has ended now. People could see that if this building could come back, then maybe Hoboken too could come back.